Hello, it's Slim the Stringer here. Welcome to my very disorganized collection of string. It's really kind of bad, but I'll find a time to organize it at some point. And I just want to talk to you about some of the main sort of groupings of string. And obviously there are plenty of strings that do not fall into any of these categories. But I want to tell you a little bit about what a lot of the string you're going to come across, the categories that a lot of the string that you will come across falls into. So first I'm going to start with polyester. And this is what a lot of professionals are using now. It's sort of the most common of strings on the professional tour now. And obviously that's quite an exception to that. And there are many exceptions to that, but this is the newest type of string that we have. And I have a reel of Babolat RPM Blast here, which is a very popular string. I also have some Kirschbaum. Here I probably have some Prince polyester somewhere, also called Poly. That's just tubing. Oh, weird. I thought I had more polyester here, but, this, Prince Polygot. This is old school. One of the first polys Prince ever made. But what does polyester play like? So polyester is fairly stiff string. It's a monofilament that's extruded. It's basically it's like plastic that has been formed into this shape. And polyester allows some really interesting shapes for the string. So Babolat RPM Blast actually has like little ribs on it, which you can't really see on a camera, but they're there, I promise. But polyester is a fairly stiff string. It's a fairly durable string, and it's used by a lot of people who hit the ball hard and need to keep that ball in the court. It's used by people who like the spin characteristics of it, because you can get it like I said, you can often get sort of shaped or rough versions that cut into the ball. It's used by people who break a lot of strings, and it's generally not recommended for people who have arm issues because it's so stiff. It can be hard on the arm, on the shoulder, on the joints. It creates a lot of sort of shock on off-center hits. So I string a lot of rackets for older people, and I would not recommend an older person throwing a polyester in their racket unless they have, unless they're like in incredibly good shape. But still, I would recommend them to be careful. But there are even college students that I string for that love the durability and love the spin and the control that they can get from a poly, but their shoulder's starting to hurt a little bit, or they're coming back from the injury and they just can't play with a full bed of this. So often we'll cross it. We'll put this in the mains and something softer in the crosses. Now, the other main family would be multifilament, and that's exactly what it sounds like. This is Babolat Addiction, which is an example of it. I know I have a Prince Premier with soft flex. You can see here the little description of what it looks like, the diagram, and you can see the tiny little filaments that all make up this string. And this is sort of made to imitate natural gut, so it's going to be a lot softer. It's going to have a lot more give, and therefore a lot more power, and a lot more comfort. So as opposed to other strings that you might find. And that's great, but the problem with all these little fibers is they break, and then the string starts to fray, and slowly the string will break sort of sooner than a monofilament string like a polyester will. The other downside is because there's so much give, it can be almost feels like a trampoline sometimes, and that limits your control in certain circumstances, particularly if you're swinging hard. But if you're a person who needs a little bit more power or has some arm issues or just wants a softer feeling string and maybe wants to string it a little bit tighter to keep the ball in the court, these are great options for you. And now, a lot of beginners, a lot of rackets you buy at Walmart or whatever will have something along the lines of this, which is called synthetic gut, which is kind of a misnomer, but it's effectively nylon string, and it sort of plays in the middle between your multifilament and your polyester. It's probably a little bit closer to the multifilament, and also a little bit more durable. But the main thing about this is it's very, very cheap. Just for example, I got this reel of 660 feet of Prince synthetic gut with Duraflex, which is like a very standard sort of like the original nylon string. I got this for about $60 or so. I don't exactly remember. Versus, 660 feet of Babolat Addiction, or even Babolat Excel, which is even more expensive, or other of these top grade Wilson Sensation, other of these top grade multifilament strings. You'll be paying $100, $150, $200 for 660 feet, and that translates to where this you can get it easily for $5 a set. I actually should have a set down here. Yeah, this was maybe $5 versus a set of a good high quality multifilament like this. You're talking $12, $13 for a set of I don't know, I guess it doesn't have the price. Some of these might have the price on them, and I remember some of them were like $20 for a set of Prince's more expensive, like Premier with Softflex, which is really nice string back in the day. And so this is sort of a good beginner option, and a lot of sort of basic pre-strung rackets will come with something like this, and durability isn't going to be great from this. It's not going to be as delicate as your multifilament, but it's still not going to be particularly good, and that's going to also boil down to a lot of the fact that it is sort of cheaper, more economical string. And now, I know very few people who still use this, but this is Kevlar string, and Kevlar is some of the most durable string out there. Whether or not it's more durable than polyester will depend on the string, but this stuff is really tough, they make bulletproof vests out of that stuff. It was really popular sort of in the early 2000s, before polyester really took off in the like commercial recreational market, because I think people, once the professionals started using polyester, it was sort of like more of a niche thing. But sort of in the past like 5 to 10 years, polyester has really, you're seeing a lot more sort of country club players, recreational players playing with polyester strings, and I think that could be because that's what the professionals are using. And so this Kevlar is there's not, I don't want to be mean to Kevlar, but there's not a lot of redeeming characteristics to this other than maximum durability. You're just not getting the spin or the control that I think you get from a well-made polyester string, and I'm sure people will argue with me on that, but my opinion is Kevlar's kind of become obsolete with the introduction of polyester, just because there are very few people who break polyester frequently enough for them to consider it a problem. Yeah, there are people who break polyester once a week, but if you're breaking polyester once a week, you're probably a fairly elite, at least a college level tennis player, or an elite high school tennis player, and you are willing to put that money into restringing your rackets. A couple of other examples of strings that I don't have, I think the biggest one that I wish I had now, because I actually string a lot of it, is natural gut. And natural gut is sort of like one of the original tennis strings. It was invented by Pierre Babolat in France in 1875, and it started out with cat intestines, and then they sort of moved into beef, cow intestines, and that has... the way that it's constructed is the string is dried out. The intestines are dried out and then sort of braided, and you get this very flexible, resilient, springy string that just feels, in my opinion, amazing when you hit with it. Particularly if you string it fairly tightly, it just has this wonderful cushioning effect. It's so easy on the arm, it feels so good. The cons of natural gut are it's incredibly expensive, first of all. I know off the top of my head at least $40 a set. And then the other problem is you can't get it in reels because intestines just aren't that long. It's simply like, and that can be inconvenient and also gets to be more expensive. And then the other problem is durability. And natural gut is not a very durable string. I mean, you can break natural gut while stringing it. It has lots of kinks sometimes that you have to be careful of. And you have to worry about humidity and stuff like that to make sure that it doesn't get too moist, because if it gets too moist, you'll lose tension. But with regards to tension maintenance, how long the string stays at the tension or close to the tension that you strung it at, natural gut is unparalleled for that. With regards to durability, it's not particularly durable. And that's a trade-off. You know, if you're Roger Federer and you get your racket string every day and you have basically unlimited money to spend on tennis rackets, yeah, you'll use natural gut, and that's great. Or if you're a person who only strings your rackets once a year and wants the best of the best and is able to make that last because you only play, you know, once or twice a month, natural gut might be a good choice for you. But if you're somebody who is on a budget, there are definitely alternatives, even a good solid, a good multifilament like Babolat Excel can get you close to the feeling of natural gut. While that's still an expensive string, you're still saving money and you're still getting a little bit of an increase in durability, which is nice. And then the final quality that's sort of, I'd actually say that it's the inverse of durability with regards to the qualities of strings. It's just tension maintenance. And what do I mean by tension maintenance? I mean, how well does a string keep its tension? So if I string a racket at 60 pounds today, how much, and play with it for a week, how tight are those strings going to be after a week of play? And polyester tends to drop its tension really quickly. And that's because it's effectively a form of plastic. It just sort of settles in and then it's there. And it does not, once it stretches, it stretches and does not stretch a lot when you're stringing it, and because of that, it drops tension very quickly, and that can be frustrating for some. Again, synthetic gut kind of in the middle, and you'll get the best tension maintenance out of the sort of springier strings because they come back to life more after you hit the ball. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, as always. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to sharing more stringing related content with you soon. Keep on playing, stay safe. Bye-bye.